around. "If anyone finds us, we'll say we heard a noise and came to investigate," advised Emily. "Just let me do the talking." We had, of course, been in the shop before, but always in the company of an adult. Alone, it took on an altogether more thrilling aspect. An Aladdin's cave of brightly coloured jars and bottles stacked on shelves from floor to ceiling, each with the name of its contents emblazoned on the front in tall gold lettering: Bermuda arrowroot, violet powder, chlorate of potash, extract of henbane, etc. Glass cabinets displayed the brand-name medicines of the day: Eno's fruit salts, Page Woodcock's wind pills, Jacob Townsend's American sarsaparilla, whilst tall, swan-necked cowboys glowed luminously and alluringly at either end of the long mahogany counter. A pair of mirrors on opposite walls reflected the shop between them into infinity. "Don't break anything," said Emily sternly, "and don't put anything in your mouth, especially from the bottles with the ridged glass. They're dangerous." We pulled down a couple of jars from the more accessible shelves and sniffed their contents, and opened a tin of scented Russian bear's grease pomade, some of which I smeared on my hair. Then we crept into the workroom at the back of the shop, and had a poke around amongst the mortars and scales and tincture presses and root cutters. Emily spent some time fiddling with a teat pipette. I found a large Buchner funnel, through which I blew as though it were a bugle. "Shh!" hissed my companion. "Miss Waspley will hear us, and we'll be in all sorts of trouble. Put it down, and come back in the shop." We had a rummage through the labelled rosewood drawers lining the wall behind the counter, and spent some time playing with the till, standing on tiptoe and depressing its keys as though they were the notes of some large musical instrument. Then we sniffed a bottle of sal volatile, which made our eyes water, and sent us both into a fit of coughing. "What did you get for your birthday?" inquired Emily, when we had recovered from our sputterings. "Some chocolate from Mrs. Eggs," I replied, and a special Bible from Father." "What's special about it?" "Well, you can pull out the New Testament and wear it as a sun hat. He invented it himself. Thinks it's going to make a lot of money. But then, that's what he always thinks about his inventions." More about my father later. We opened a cupboard behind the counter and pulled out a curious-looking pump-like contraption labelled Dr. Ugicia's No. 2 Mechanical Reservoir Enema. "What do you think this is for?" I asked. "Putting out fires, I think," said Emily. "Better put it back, or you might break it." I did, as she ordered, and wandered to the far end of the counter to examine a set of graduated glass dispensing measures. "If you could have anything in the world for your birthday," asked my companion suddenly, "what would it be?" There were, of course, many things in the world I would have liked at that particular moment, such as a pistol, or a sailing yacht, or a machine that would do all my schoolwork for me. A Rudge Whitworth bicycle, of the type currently advertised in all the papers, would have been nice, as would a wireless, or a set of Siege of Mafeking toy soldiers. One thing, however, stood out head and shoulders above the rest. Had indeed stood out head and shoulders since the day I'd first seen it 4 years previously, and I named it now. "The pill," I replied, crossing to the poisons cabinet and pressing my nose against its thick glass front. "That's what I'd have. That's definitely what I'd have. I wish I could have it." Emily looked at me in surprise, and then, turning to the rosewood drawers behind her, opened one labelled rhubarb powder, and inserted a hand therein, removing it a moment later with a small brass key clutched between her fingers. This she wriggled into the lock of the poisons cabinet, turning it 2 full revolutions.